I don't know if you will or not. Uh, you ever notice when folks they talking about like they're not proclaiming something, right? They're proclaiming something that they believe. They're giving a proclamation of what it is that they believe, right? That is preaching. Um, when folks, make the statement, I think they're associating it with like I'm not a preacher like a itinerant preacher traveling around preaching, or itinerant preacher or pastor, like a pastor of a church. You know what I mean? But you are preaching. Everybody has something that they trust, so they believe, right? And insofar as whatever objective standard they rest on, um, people aren't always going to be 100. We keep it 100. They're not always going to do that. That's not always going to happen. Even with what they do, they're going to fall short. They just are. And a person has to see that the very thing they're claiming they're not doing, they're proclaiming that they're not. Think about that. They are proclaiming that they are not preachers, right? But they're spending time in discussions. They're spending time trying to convey things, right? And so now the question is, what are they trying to convey, and who are they trying to convince? Because if they are trying to convince somebody of anything, um, uh-oh, I'm sorry. Come on, D. What's up, bro? Oh my goodness. I was trying to get D Burns to come on here with me, man. I was because I think he articulates things different, and for me, sometimes I think it helps me process what I'm trying to say. But if you're making the profession, if you're proclaiming that you're not a preacher, think about that. Preaching literally means proclaim. You're proclaiming something. So whether you have uh, two people in your household or 200 people in the church house, right? If there's something you're trying to convey to somebody, then you're preaching what it is that you stand on, right? And guess what? You don't do that 100%. I don't do that 100%. The Bible says that all men fall short of the glory of God. So even in our Christian walk, we're talking about, I'm keeping it 100. I'm keeping it 100, right? Well, guess what? The Bible says we all fall short. So the only one that could keep it 100 was Jesus. You know what I'm saying? But when I try to explain that to people, and I'm explaining what Bible verse says and supports whatever it is that I'm proclaiming, believe what I'm saying. That is preaching, because preaching literally means to proclaim, right? You're making a proclamation, right? So when people say, well, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a preacher. You might not be a preacher in front of a congregation of 200 people, 2,000 people, or whatever, like a pastor in a church, but you are a preacher. Your words are going out into the ears of somebody, and that may or may not change the lives of the people that are hearing what it is that you're saying, but you are preaching. You make no mistake about it. You are preaching. That's what you're doing. The word preaching, for folks that don't understand what preaching means to proclaim. And insofar as teaching, it means to explain. Explain. Right? So anytime you're trying to break something, I'm going to break it down for you. That's what I'm doing right now is I'm explaining. Preaching and teaching, they go hand in hand. Anytime I'm trying to proclaim something, make a proclamation of something, trying to convince somebody of something, I got to explain what it is that I'm standing on, why I'm standing on it. So when a person says, well, I'm not a preacher, why don't you better say I'm not a pastor? And even then it don't matter, because let's say you have a family. Well, you're preaching something to them daily, I'm sure. Question is, what are you preaching? It's like I think Shailene said. Shailene said every rapper is a preacher. What's his message about? Right. So what he's saying is that every rapper, whether they're Christian or non-Christian, they are preaching, right? And then insofar as what it is that they're preaching when they're giving an interview, talking about what it is that they're preaching through a 4-minute sermon with music behind it, now they're explaining what they're talking about, what they're proclaiming. So now you have explaining and proclaiming, right? So explaining is teaching, and proclaiming is preaching. Just have to take that. So, anyways, I was hoping the homie D Burns would come on here, man, and maybe grind this out with me because it's been on my mind. I listen to some of these rappers, and sometimes it's when I'm digesting what they're saying, it's like it'll hit me for a minute, and I get tickled and kind of stop what I'm doing and laugh. Now I have to rewind it and listen to it again, and yeah, that's what I heard. And then I break it down, but um, somebody was rapping, and they said, "I'm not a preacher." Yeah, yeah, you are.